Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome back to R4E, the Reason for Everything podcast. Today's guest is Pete Nelson II. Pete is the founder of Sisu Lifestyle. You probably know them from their amazing sauna products, but their journey to get here and their plans for 2025 are even more exciting. And I'm very, very grateful that I get to share their journey with you all today. I know it's been a little while since I've put one of these episodes out, so please be sure you're following, you've liked, and you've subscribed to this podcast on whatever platform you're listening to. This is episode 86. I hope you enjoy it, and thanks for the support so far. I think the best place to start, let's tee it up with the hat you're wearing. It says "Beat the Heat" for anyone just listening on audio. Pete, I'll give you a chance to introduce yourself. I love that, love that so much. Like I said before we started filming, I'm a huge fan of what you guys are building, and I'd love to ask you a bunch of questions and allow you to share with my audience the incredible journey you've been on for the last only 2 years as it relates to your current venture. But I have a bunch of other questions that will help kind of form that. But let me give you a chance to introduce yourself.
Yeah, so thank you for the intro there. It's been a surreal 2 years. It's been a sprint of a couple of years, but it feels like I've lived 10, 20 years in the last two. But every day is like a blessing, and just learning a lot every single day. But I was born in Cleveland, Ohio. My parents have been married for 35 years. I've got a brother and a sister. I actually hired my sister onto the team about a year ago now. And family is the most important thing to me. And my wife and I have been together for 6 years. My wife, Paige, is an absolute incredible businesswoman, but also an even better mother and athlete. So she definitely keeps my sword sharp for sure. And then we've got two kids, a son named Cruz, 3, and then a daughter, Charlie, who's 1. And they're like little tornadoes. But I got I played basketball really up until college, and into college my freshman year. And then when I was 17, I got into ultra running with my dad. And I started running these ultra marathons and with my dad a few times a year. I stopped playing college ball. I had a brief stint in the military. They were paying my way for college. I ended up getting medically enrolled, and along that path, I had found personal training to be a source of purpose and income for me to be able to provide. And that eventually evolved into me managing a gym and then owning it with one of my best friends. And then actually a year and a half, 2 years ago, I ended up selling that equity back to my friend. And Sisu came about 4 years ago, and a client came in to the doors who I didn't know at the time. His name is Nick Daddis, and he just got back from an XPT experience with Laird Hamilton, Gabby Reese, Tim Ferriss was there. He got to go inside of Laird Hamilton's barrel sauna. He was like, "This was amazing. I want one for my home." He bought one, and then I soon bought one after that off of his recommendation. And we soon then found out that there was no dealer for that specific manufacturer in Ohio. So we would get the rights to all of Ohio. It'd be a fun side hustle. Why not? Let's do it. So we pulled the trigger, and COVID hit, and we hit this 12-month stretch without a single sale. We ended up basically deciding on an early morning trail run that we should probably just end the dealership. It's a waste of time. And about 10 minutes later on that same run, with our headlights on at like 5 a.m., we decided that probably the next best option actually is for us to become the manufacturer. And that's when we pulled the trigger on our US sourced, US made Amish handcrafted saunas here in Ohio. And we launched Sisu as we know it in August of 2022. And it's been amazing since.
There's a bunch of threads I want to pull on there. Let's start. So I know you played basketball in school. I played basketball as well. Not as good as you. Didn't make the team, unfortunately, but still love it. Still an active part of my life. The other thing we have in common is student government. I saw you were class president, school president.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of overlap for people that put themselves out there in a forum like in high school, and you're most vulnerable, most awkward. I'd be curious. I'm sure there's someone that's run a study from McKinsey or somewhere that has built out the overlap of people that have started companies to people that were involved in student government in school. But it's an interesting journey for you where, you met the team. So did you meet Nick first or Mark first?
So I met Nick first. I met Nick, man, probably in 2018 when he was a client. And then we didn't meet Mark until 2022. But you're talking about family right there, man. Nick and his wife Nancy are two of the most incredible entrepreneurs I've ever been around. They've got 3 kids as well. And then Mark is arguably one of the most gifted craftsmen I've ever met. He comes from an incredible lineage of Finnish blood, um, and he's just super serious about what he does. And when you combine the 3 of us, it's turned into like a really great all-star team.
You mentioned twice now how family's so important to you. I know, and just listening to some of your other conversations with podcast hosts, that I could only dream of being as good as your dad, giving up smoking, taking on running, and that becoming his new addiction. You kind of helping along with that journey. Walk me through kind of how your fitness journey and your family has overlapped to help you build this business today.
It's a great question, and to me, the relationships, it's not yes, like family is important, but really pull back the strings is like, what is it? It's the relationships and it's the accountability. My dad's ran now 155 marathons or greater of distance in the last 12 years, and that included a cancer bout with tongue cancer and a stroke that debilitated him, where he had to relearn how to walk about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. And so I think about it like right now as it sits. My dad right now is on a flight to go to Tulsa, Oklahoma to run the Tulsa Marathon. He just relearned how to walk a year and a half ago, and he's gone through way more in life than I've ever had to go through. So if he's running 8 miles a day plus, I have zero excuse on my end to get my miles in and get my work in. And so family is such a huge part because like we share common values, common blood. And when I see my mom and my dad doing the work and my brothers and sister doing the work and my friends doing the work, it gets me motivated because not every day do you wake up, ready to like sprint out of bed and attack life. But when you have these key people in your life that are doing it, it just keeps you with your nose to the grindstone. And it motivates me to just keep at it every single day, because it's not easy, but it becomes a little bit more digestible when I know that people that have it much worse than me are getting after it, and I don't have any excuse otherwise.
And you named the first barrel sauna after your dad, is that right?
So actually, the Edwin barrel, our very first sauna that we launched with in August of 22, is named after Mark, our manufacturing team lead's father, who's a first Finn. And our first sauna, it was actually a 7-foot diameter barrel. It would have like retailed at like 13 grand, and we decided like it was just too much material. It's too big, the whole bit. Like the ideal size is a 6-foot barrel. Anyways, we're getting in there. Very first prototype. It's at Mark's house, and he brought his dad Edwin in, and Edwin started speaking in Finnish. None of us know how to speak in Finnish, but he went on for a minute, and we're dead silent listening to him. Then he cut himself off, and he looked at me, and he said, "What I said, translated from Finnish to English, is that whatever happens in the sauna stays in the sauna between a man and the woman." And I'm like, wait, what? Is that really what you just said for the last minute? And it just turned into this crazy epic moment where we're like, wow, we should name this sauna after Edwin, the Edwin barrel, because of that moment. And then obviously the Finnish roots, the blood, the whole bit. So it was kind of like out of this moment of like comedy that the Edwin barrel was born. Because truthfully, I've never shared this on a public medium like this before. We had a super cringy first name for our very first sauna. We were going to launch the Best Barrel in August 22, and thank God that didn't happen, because I don't think we would have sold any units otherwise.
I was just listening to Matthew McConaughey on the Modern Wisdom podcast with Chris Williamson.
Nice.
And one of the big things McConaughey kept preaching about was not taking ourselves too seriously and being quick to find humor in everything we possibly can, because that can really roots our perception of the universe. And to name your all's marquee product off of something that's off of a fun and laughable memory probably more subconscious than anything else, but probably fires you guys up each day.
For sure. And it ended up trickling down this lineage of like namesakes for our SKUs. So the Eddie was a a pun on the Edwin. The Eddie seems like the little brother to the Edwin. So that became the 2-person barrel sauna, the Eddie, that we launched in November of 22. And the very first Eddie barrel we ever made is actually about 3 blocks down at one of my good friends' houses. He wanted a 2-person barrel, and we're like, yeah, we can make that happen. And then we saw it go together, and we all just kind of looked at each other like, I think we have something here. We didn't think it was going to be a big seller. We thought it was going to be a niche product, and it immediately became our biggest seller. And then the new cabin saunas that we just launched, the Charlie and the Crew cabin, are named after my son and daughter. And that launched this past August. So it's cool that there's namesakes that are tied to our family, and it gives it a little persona. And our kids are too young to really realize that they have saunas named after them. But I'm sure in 10, 20 years from now, they'll be like, wait, why did you do that? And it'll be cool to look back upon and just reminisce about the fun memories of the naming process of these things.
I mean, it's part of the reason why I like to do this show, which is to memorialize a point in time for a conversation to see what selfishly I look like, sound like, I'm thinking like at a
Yeah,
given moment in time. And it'll be, on the internet forever for hopefully my, great grandkids one day to see and cringe at. So I get that, man. I get that.
for sure. Yeah,
Now,
it's
go ahead, please.
when you memorialize like the moment and you get to look back upon it. I think about how Facebook and Instagram tee up the memories. 4 years ago, you were doing this on this day, and you look back and you're like, oh man, I posted that. It's cool for you to see the growth, but also just how authentically real we were in certain points in time. And it's important to never lose that authenticity in showcasing the development of you as an individual across your social platforms.
I couldn't agree more. I want to get a better understanding of your kind of history with saunas that led to where you are today. I remember my first, I guess not experience, but my first understanding of a sauna. There was a rec center up the street from where I grew up, and I remember just always seeing it. I knew like, hey, like I'm not allowed to go in there. And then it wasn't until a couple of years ago I joined a new gym, and there was a sauna in there, and I finally started going in with my cousin and kind of the group that we would work out with. And I would go in for a couple minutes at a time, and then a couple more, and then a couple more, and built up this tolerance to, at the 200, 210 level and being there for 20 minutes, bring my massive Yeti with me and try to, I mean, it got too hot. So, you learn the covered up with the towel. There's so many kind of little things you learn about so much just being in a sauna. But let me understand your kind of first exposure with the sauna that, I mean, I can't imagine, you were at school thinking one day you were going to run a sauna business, but help me understand like your kind of formidable early experiences with the sauna that got you, interested and excited to even, take up the business part or the guy in your gym that pitched the idea in the first place.
So I want to preface this answer by saying 2 weeks ago, I spoke in front of my hometown high school, and I'm about 10 years removed out of high school. And I started off the conversation by telling them 10 years ago, I was sitting in your seats, and my plan was that I was going to have a 20-year career in the Army. About right now in life, around like 29, 30 years old, I'd probably be finding my wife. There would be no kids. I would have played 4 years of college basketball, and that was it. I thought I was going to be on multiple tours overseas in the Middle East. And man, I couldn't be any farther from that. And if you would have told me 5 years ago that I was going to own a sauna company, or even 10 years ago that I was going to own a gym, I would have laughed at you. And so it's a perfect case in point that, to me, like, God has way different plans than what I could ever conceive. And it's just, I just need to like fully respect that if I just be the best person I could be and roll with the punches when they come and learn, and not view the failure as this terrible moment, but rather as an opportunity to be able to make things even better, then I'm all about that. And that's just the way that we learn. So for me, sauna was never a thing. 5 years ago, I didn't know anything about it. I was well educated in the exercise physiology space based off of my gym and strength and conditioning background, but it wasn't a thing. I didn't know the difference between infrared and steam and infrared and traditional sauna, and probably like 99% of the United States or 90% of the United States, I was like them. Sauna is sauna. And so for me, the first initial bout of sauna where I actually understood what it was, that first feeling was in 2019 when I ended up buying the sauna for my home. And I did it off of the trust of Nick, my business partner with Sisu, his recommendation from his barrel sauna that he bought. So I trusted him, and he said, "This feels amazing. You should try it out." And I remember that first session, and I came out like I felt like I was fighting like a dog in this sauna session. And he made the recommendation for me to go in for about 15 minutes, and I could barely last 15 minutes in there. And I got out and I laid on the ground, and I knew I needed more of it. And so when I started realize that there was carryover into my strength training, carryover into my running, I realized that there was even more massive need for this in the community setting for athletes, for recovery purposes, for performance enhancing purposes too, for aerobic ability, strength ability, the whole bit. And so that was kind of the initial bout, was buying one for my home out of the trust of my friend at the gym. And that then cascaded into me hosting and getting more people into sauna, just because I knew that how good I felt. I wanted other people to feel that good.
It's, I mean, the start of what you're saying around, looking back 10 years and telling yourself you're going to run a sauna company. It's like the saying, we make plans and God laughs.
Yeah,
That's
for
exactly what I
sure.
was.
Yeah, and I think uh, I one of my best friends, his name's Bobby, and he is one of the most talented and intelligent people I've ever been around. And he's in this phase of life right now where he's trying to figure out and piece together his next year, next 5 years, next 10 years. And I was like, "Hey, do you mind if I give you some unsolicited advice?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure, go at it." And I told him, most of the time when we're trying to piece together these plans that are a year out, 5 years out, 10 years out, we're setting ourselves up for failure, because we're trying to bite off way more than we could chew. We're trying to piece together the details that are going to require steps 3, 4, 5, and 6 when we haven't even taken step one. And uh, everybody has a different tolerance for how quick they can start with an idea. Some people need to be well researched and have the systems in place before they make that first step. And some people don't need any of that, and they just make their first step and they figure out the details along the way. There's no one right way, but that's based off of personality. And sometimes we have to build that tolerance to know less, to just get started, and then understand that we need to figure it out along the way. That will then cascade into their ability to either figure out that, hey, I want to stick with this path, or I need to pivot and alter and go into a different path. But being able to pull the trigger on an idea or pull the trigger on that next step is massively important, especially in the entrepreneurial journey.
It's a strange paradox of the Wayne Dyer idea of not trying, don't try. And, you have, that doesn't mean to don't give it your all, but you have to try less thinking about the outcomes and what the destination is, and just try to just be present, enjoy the journey. Nothing helps you do that like being in the sauna at 210 degrees for 15 minutes. So I feel like there's a lot of,
Yes.
I feel like it's probably a beautiful flywheel that you get by running a sauna business, where if you're practicing what you preach and going in there, you have time to reflect. I think the big thing that I've recognized just in a digital world is the shower and the sauna, and then like, playing sport where you can't have your phone on you. For you, probably running. I'm not as big of a runner by any stretch of the imagination, but there's really kind of few pockets of life in today's day and age where you can really have that solace and solitude, or even just be away from your digital devices. And so the sauna is one place for me where I'm like, hey, I have 20 minutes of just me time to think, or talking to someone else. But especially when it's that hot, it's pretty hard to have a kind of long form conversation, or for me at least, to really kind of dive into it. So I love kind of being in there, being quiet and reflecting, and because you can't really do much more other than focus on your breath and taking it one minute at a time.
I love your initial thought about, we're super focused on the outcome and not necessarily on the journey. It's something that ultra running taught me more than anything. I had DNF'd at 100 miles multiple times before I actually completed 100 miles. And I was so asphyxiated on what my life would look like and be like and feel like, and what people would think about me completing 100 miles. And I was so asphyxiated on that outcome that when it actually occurred, I thought I was going to be in tears. I was going to call my dad and be like, "Dad, I did this thing." And the reality was, it was 3 a.m. I crossed the line and I just laid down, and I was like, "I want to go home." And as I was reflecting on it, looking back the next day, I realized it wasn't the outcome that I was searching. It was rather the transformational journey along the way of getting dedicated to something and seeing it all the way through and surrounding myself with the right people to get me to achieve that outcome. And then my mind, which could be healthy and unhealthy, was already like, all right, what's my next thing? And I don't think that I think the next step mentality is awesome, but you have to be careful with that because you can set yourself up for failure pretty quick and burnout. But man, that the journey and the process that it actually took to achieve that outcome is just massively important. And I tie that for my business journey back to my ultra side. And then I think about that with sauna too, because sauna, yes, you hinted at it, the solitude is incredible. It's a way for me to be able to not be on my phone, decompress, be with my thoughts. Uh, there's obviously massive health benefit, but if I push in the sauna, it's very similar to a workout. You become extremely present. You want to get out, you want to escape, but you got to stay in for another 5 minutes. And it's a great analogy to life that you got to keep sticking it through, even in the valleys, to be able to get back to, um, the journey.
It's so true, man. That push at the end is so cathartic once you actually get out.
You don't, if you've never been in a hot sauna, do yourself a favor, go to a sauna and stay in there until you want to get out, and then stay in another 5 minutes and let me know how you feel. it's unlike anything because I don't want to say you feel trapped because that doesn't sell sauna, but there's a lot of application to that feeling to many, many areas of life, and more people need to experience that.
One of the other threads that I wanted to pull on, and then I have one other kind of train of thought I want to go down, but when I talked to Eric Hinman on the show, he was mentioning how, in Colorado, when he has people over or he's trying to meet someone, instead of, going and grabbing a coffee or doing whatever, he's like, hey, come over for a sauna and a workout. And I think one of the things that a lot of these big cities lack is that outdoor culture. I think places like probably Nashville and Austin and Miami have that, but like DC, New York, San Francisco, maybe Chicago is harder to do that. Just probably part of it's weather and part of it's just the space. But the idea of, hey, just that communal aspect of my sauna, let's go and do this. I think that's why you have had this huge shift. And I wanted to get to this in this conversation, which is the timing and luck component of it, which is, you guys are obviously building an incredible product and giving it your all and doing the right things, but also the kind of luck and timing that comes into it with people like Huberman and Peter Attia and all of the kind of mainstream podcasters that you and I and a lot of my audience listens to, talking about the benefits of sauna, talking about the, importance of doing hard things. And so my question for you is more around like, you started this in 2022 or, 2020 into 2022 when you fully launched the Edwin. Mechanically speaking, you give up the gym. What was that like for you? Did you say, all right, on this date, I'm going to become a full-time sauna operator, or, sauna business operator? What was that like for you from a actual operations perspective?
I thought I was going to co-own both between the gym brand and Sisu. And then my business partner on the gym side, him and I had a real clear conversation together, and we both agreed that it was just best for me to step out of that. And that was tough because I thought the rest of my life, I was going to be a gym owner and own multiple gyms and just live that lifestyle. So that was tough. It was very tough, but I learned a lot in that moment. But I think what's important to know is that I didn't step into Sisu thinking that this was going to be a full-time gig and that it was going to produce like the fruit that it has and the purpose that it has. We started off very, very simple. We didn't take a single distribution from the dealer side of things when we were originally a wholesaler for another manufacturer. We actually just took all the profits and rolled it into 4 saunas worth. We got enough material for 4 saunas, and then we took that and reinvested it, and took that and reinvested it. We didn't we didn't raise money. We bootstrapped it, and we just did our best to just be super conservative with cash flow, with distribution, and just keeping money in the bank for Sisu for growth purposes. So when you look at the timing of it, obviously, there's different mediums that were starting to pop up. There are more podcasts. There's more mediums for people to be able to share a story, to be able to educate. Social media, specifically by the time that we launched Sisu, like Reels were becoming like a real big thing. And it was just a new way to be able to engage eyeballs and to be able to help make an impact. So the frustration that I had as a consumer of sauna, and then owning a dealership where there was infinite customizations and it required a sales call, was that there was zero simplicity and there was ultimate complexity in the sauna space. And it was very, very product driven. Everything was just product, 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 super bottom of funnel. And I didn't really like that because there wasn't any emotional or narrative or actual impact being made. So we knew that as we were getting this off the ground, is that we wanted us to manifest a certain level of expectation for values and feeling and emotion and belonging with Sisu. And it wasn't like, hey, I want to make a brand. That's I think so many people want to create a brand, and if you go into it that way, you're really thinking about it from how can I benefit from it to make money, and that's not what we're about. Rather, we unintentionally created a brand as a result of our desire to make an impact and develop culture of like what Sisu actually means and is manifested. And Sisu is a Finnish concept that stands for perseverance, tenacity, bravery, and grit, and that's something that the U.S. lacks. Obesity is at an all-time high. Cardiovascular disease is the number one killer, which shows you that lifestyle is a huge deterrent to health in the United States. And we need to manifest the Sisu lifestyle of embracing hard things and getting more people uncomfortable, but doing so through sharing gritty moments and connection. And that's what we've built sauna off of. And I know that we've been able to help move the needle in the sauna space, but in terms of timing, again, that to me, that's like a God thing. It was just, it was the right timing. Yes, there's some luck to it, but I'm a big believer that luck, I don't believe in coincidences. To me, it's you have to be prepared to pull the trigger and have the right people around you to be able to get an idea moving through. And that's how I kind of conceptualize as I look back over the last 2.5, even 4 years of how Sisu has come to where it's at. It's through those efforts.
I always say that we're exactly where we're supposed to be. You've heard it time and time again, but that's kind of the antithesis of not believing in coincidences, which is everything's always coincidence because we're always where we're supposed to be, even if it's not, rainbows and butterflies.
Yeah, I completely agree. And entrepreneurship isn't for the faint of heart. There's a reason why not everybody owns a business. You have to have a tolerance for a lot of different things. And I like to share the analogy of entrepreneurship as if you picture yourself at the start of a long, dark hallway, and let's say sometimes you don't know what the end of the hallway is like for you. The end of the hallway could be, you're selling the business, or you're just owning a profitable business, or you're looking for some sort of outcome, but oftentimes you can't see the end of the hallway. And for entrepreneurs, you have to be able to take that blind first step, and it's completely pitch black in front of you. And you just see only your next step, and you get eventually halfway down that hall, and you look back and you don't even see like where you came from, and you still can't see the end. But all you know is that you need to take that next step and have faith that you're going to keep working your way down toward eventually what could be a goal that'll surface for yourself. And there's a lot of blind faith in it, and that's okay. It does take guts, but at the same time, when you look at the standard principles of great relationships, it's clear, concise, gentle, but like real thoughts and communication. So if I want to see X happen, I know that I can't absorb everything. I need to be able to get help and delegate to people that are way better at certain things than I am. I know my strengths. I need to protect my strengths. I need to hire and surround myself with people that have strengths. So it'd be like, I don't want to be like Steph Curry, who is the best 3-point shooter of all time, but on defense, I'm guarding Shaq, right? That wouldn't make any sense. So what I need to do is I need to go find like, who's the best person to defend Shaq? That way I can protect my strong suit of shooting threes. So for me, like, I love building relationships. I love being able to develop product, and I love being able to manage like performance people and processes, like from the CEO level. Everything else needs to be delegated. And that allows me to be able to be really understanding and clear of like the direction, my responsibility within the business, and let the business grow as a result from the people that are surrounding myself with and the others with, to be able to keep the mission moving forward.
You mentioned partnerships. One of the big things in the health and wellness world that continues to pop up is contrast therapy. I know you guys have built partnerships with groups like Ice Barrel. what's that been like for you as you guys have emerged as a front runner in the sauna space and just a big name brand in the health and wellness space? What's that been like for you as a operator, building partnerships, building relationships with brands and other companies?
It's the coolest part. It's the coolest part of my job. It's the coolest part of the business is getting to create these bridges and connections and just raw fun relationships. And Ice Barrel was the very first one. Wyatt's turned into a very good friend, and he led us to like our first ambassador of Eric Hinman, and just that the butterfly effect that happens from each of these different avenues of partnership. It's been the most rewarding and fun thing. And a lot of the people that I look up to, a lot of the podcasts I listen to, I've been very blessed and fortunate to like meet them in person and get to see them enjoy a Sisu and spend time and work out and jump on their podcast and share the story. It's so surreal, and to me, it's like a pinch me moment. But then it's always so funny. Like when I get back on the plane to come back home, I land, get in my car, and I'm driving back, and I see my kids, and I see my wife, and I'm reminded like that was really cool, but this is what matters most to me. you know, it's a blessing, but at the same time, um, ultimately, I get back home, and it's like this is just life. Like I still come back home just like anybody else and enjoy the time with my kids, enjoy the time with my wife, and get to be a family man. And like that's what matters most to me.
100%. Now, as you guys have been building, and it's kind of like what you were saying earlier of the unsolicited advice you gave your friend that plans 5 or 10 years out, or the end of the hallway that you don't know, you can't see what it is. But you mentioned putting one step forward at a time because that's the only way to move forward as an entrepreneur. Using that as the backdrop for this question, what's that next step forward for Sisu? Where are you guys going? What are you looking to do we're recording this on the 22nd of November. We're almost in 2025. What's that next step forward for you guys?
So I've got like a 10-year picture, a 10-year target that we've developed, which is that we're really trying to build Sisu toward an outdoor lifestyle brand. That's what I care about. We want to get more people outside, forging grit and connection through Sisu lifestyle products, and getting more people away from their phones and outdoors. That's what Sisu is. In terms of like the application of that, we always hang our hat on the three main things. It's quality, simplicity, and trust. So no matter what, if we're going to put a product or a service out there, it needs to be done quality. It needs to be done in North America, in the US. Secondly, it needs to be simple. It can't be complex. The formulation of it, the manufacturing of it, the build out, the use of it needs to be simple. And then thirdly, we need to be able to make sure that people can trust us. So like they need to be able to go to our site and be educated enough to be able to invest into a Sisu product that's going to last them for a long time. And if they get the product, and if we need to, step in from a customer service standpoint, I want them to know that we stand by the product and we'll make sure that their experience is right. So those are the most three important things. And as we apply those to the future over the next 6 to 12 months, right now we've got 4 SKUs. In Q1, we're going to launch a commercial lineup of heaters. So people from the B2B side will be able to take care of their affiliates, gyms, the whole bit, to be able to help foster these community-based sauna experiences. And then next year we're going to be getting into a couple products that are not sauna based, and I'm really excited about that. It'll help aid in the Sisu lifestyle. And then we'll also have our accessory lineup and some merchandise for people to be able to get.
That's awesome, man. I'm fired up for you guys. No pun intended here. Maybe last question for you. There's so many amazing folks in the health and wellness journey that you're already connected to. But if you could wake up tomorrow, open up Instagram, scroll on Reels, and see a celebrity influencer, whoever it is, free promoing their Sisu, who would that be? Who do you think epitomizes the Sisu lifestyle that you guys don't have under the umbrella today?
Oh man, this is a very, very good question. There's a couple figures in the United States that I would love to have be a part of the brand, and one of them is Jocko Willink. I think that he stands for everything Sisu means. He's a savage, great entrepreneur, but he really gets it. One of the guys I feel super blessed to call a partner now, as of this past week, is Jesse Itzler.
Oh, that's awesome.
Jesse's the real deal. His preferred sauna is Sisu, which is really cool to say. Outside of that, there isn't like this Mount Rushmore of people, I would say, but obviously it'd be super cool to have Joe Rogan on board. But whoever ends up wanting to be a part of the brand and be able to have the Sisu, I'm all for it. But I would say Jocko is like the one guy I think would be really cool to meet.
That's a great one, and congrats on Jesse. I've had a bunch of like random folks that are plugged in with him, and I've had Leslie Durso on, who is his chef for all the Running Mans and everything, and she's terrific and has talked nothing but amazing praise towards Jesse and his family. So
yeah, he's got this contagious energy to him, and he obviously he's built some incredible businesses, but it's a result of him just having undying passion and purpose, and he knows how to delegate really well and create systems and put people in the right places for him to get his ideas off the ground. So it's really admirable.
do you have your big ass calendar for next year yet?
So this is gonna sound crazy, but I bought one this past year. I filled it out, and then I ended up not referring back to it because I've got a couple other calendar systems, so I'm not going to buy a 2025 big ass calendar. I've got my digital calendar, and then I also have this roadmap that I utilize on a quarterly basis that I'll use this year. But I will not be buying one this coming year.
I appreciate the honesty. Now, for those who are unfamiliar with you and Sisu before this, where's the best place for them to get connected to you and the amazing products you're building?
So you could find me on Instagram at Peter Nelson II, also LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, underneath those same handles. And then you can find us at sisulifestyle.com to be able to see all of our products.
I'll plug it all in the show notes. Pete, appreciate your time, and hopefully you get tons of family time here in the holidays too.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And thanks again for the opportunity.